Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Counterparts. My name is John Henry Soto, and as always, George Batista is right there on my screen. He's right there. He might be there on your screen. I'm not really sure, but this is Counterparts, and thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us this evening on Tuesday. It is October 10th, 2023. It is now 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're on the West Coast, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. No, if you're on the West Coast, it is 5 p.m. and we are live. So please interact with us if you'd like. And we have a wonderful show today because fall just started, and I already feel a nip in the air. Beep. And yeah, and look at George has his sweater from high school. His life is good sweater, and we are like getting ready for the fall and then the winter. And we thought George's idea. He was like, you know what? It'd be a great idea to do some health tips and to keep the body strong during the winter. And for artists, we still have to create art during this whole time. So it's not like we can hibernate. We're not remote workers and stuff. So this is a really important episode, and we're glad that you're here. So please come on back. Bienvenidos, amigos y amigas, al show Contepulte. Esta noche estamos con Jorge Batista. Yo me llamo Juan Enrique Soto y aquí estoy en Nashville. Él está en Upstate, New York. Upstate, New York, ¿verdad? Tú estás allá en Upstate, New York.
Don Francisco.
Don Francisco, Tide. I always did commercials for Tide.
That's true.
Tide de la ropa limpia. So we've been going back and forth on like what kind of episodes we want to do, what kind of shows we want to do. We are going to be doing some more interviews, in the future, hopefully the near future, some more, some more interviews. So we're excited about that. But one of the things that we were always struck with was the content that we were putting out. It was always geared to help the artists and to help people in general, and we would sometimes say things that maybe were not politically correct, and we get a little bad boy, man, you be a bad boy, and so
we're taken down from YouTube.
Yeah, and then we're taken down from YouTube. George has been a victim of that a couple of times. I've been a victim of that quite a few times, and we just decided to go to Rumble. And then while we were at Rumble, we were like, okay, well, we're doing all these great episodes, and we feel like not everything has to be so controversial, right? I mean, there's things that they are what they are, but at the end of the day, we're just here to want to help people. So we started branching out again to different areas and to different and platforms. So so here we are on that, and George had an idea for this episode. So George, what do you think about this episode? What's some of the things what's some of the points that you want to kind of get across to the audience?
Well, I can go. I mean, I actually have 7 points.
Oh, good. So okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let me just bother you for a second because I'm going to ask some questions.
No, absolutely. Let's get into a conversation.
Yeah, and then what I'll do is, take different artistics. What I wrote was just different artistic roles and how the elements sometimes affect them, right?
Yes.
So an example like an actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in recent years, because of the current things that went on, a lot of actors were sending in video record, auditions, right? What they call self submits, right? Self tapes, and so that kind of has evolved into a whole other industry now. It's like becoming a big thing where actors now are literally taking a corner of their house and making it into a little tiny little studio with the back end and with lighting and everything, so they can do properly. And I think it's important. I think it's a good thing. And I think that was sort of like a thing before, but not as much as it is now because of the current state. So my question is like, auditions are all year long. I mean, if you're doing it at home, that's cool. But if you have to go out to audition, or you book the gig and you got to go out, you have to keep your body healthy, right? So what happens to the body when the temperature starts changing? That there's this thing that goes on where people seem to like think it's always flu season, like the virus suddenly gets stronger at that point, right? Which you know scientifically that's not the case, right? I
Right.
mean,
Correct.
you can, again, depends on who's the scientist, but at this point, but I mean, there is enough data to show that it can't be just because of the day, because there are places that are always cold, but then everyone would always be dead
Right.
all the time,
That's one way to put it.
right? So that can't happen. So
Right.
obviously, the cold weather does something to the body where it weakens, I guess, the immune system. But so what is it that occurs?
Well, there's a few things that occur. Okay, so and like you said, it depends on where the person is. Now, people living in the South or a tropical environment, it's a little bit different because they have a more warmer climates year round. The issue with the cold is, and specifically like New York, or if
Right,
you're, or a lot of stuff now happens in Canada, right? Because Canada has a huge productions and stuff like that. So in Canada, it's freezing. So basically what happens with the body is a few things. Okay, the first of all, the cold does actually change your immune system. So your immunity actually goes down in the winter, just in general. Okay, because again, it's protecting your body as far as because of the temperature. Okay, but things start to kind of tighten up a little bit in the winter as well. Okay, but the biggest things is because you're when you're in the summertime, you're out there, you're hanging out, you're doing things outside, you're talking with other people, you're getting sunlight, you're getting your vitamin D, right? You're so there's not this closeness. So number one, you have this closeness in the wintertime because you're not always out, right? You're more in close quarters now because a lot more happens inside than outside
right,
in the wintertime. So you have that. Okay. Number two, you have a drop in vitamin D level, which makes everybody susceptible.
right,
And that's just scientifically fact, right? Because if you're not getting sunlight or if you're not supplementing, you're getting a drop in vitamin D, period. Just that's the way it works. And because remember, because of what vitamin D does in the body, it does so many things. In the wintertime, because it's getting used up faster, because your immune system has to use it up to keep your body, your immune system, and all the enzymes running properly,
okay,
it gets used up a lot faster, so it goes down faster.
yeah,
Now, unfortunately, that again, if you're not getting sunlight, you're not supplementing, you're susceptible to colds and flus that are running around. Okay,
right,
so you're in close quarters. You got low vitamin D. Okay, and then the cold itself. Remember that viruses thrive on cold, not heat. Right. So if you put a virus in a heated temperature like 100 and something degrees, it's going to kill it because
right.
viruses can't thrive that way. That's the whole point of the human body raising temperature when you get sick.
Oh yeah, that's why you get a fever.
You get a
Your
fever.
body
That's
is.
the whole reason because it's burning out the virus because the virus can't survive in that heat.
Then wouldn't, like, if you had a virus? I mean, if you have a virus and your temperature goes up, immediately people take Tylenol to lower their temperature. Doesn't that keep the virus then?
Correct. It actually stops it because remember the virus is. I mean, virus. The fever is an innate response in the immune system. So the body's trying to protect you and try to burn out the virus. And if you take something to suppress that, you're stopping that
Okay,
protection. Okay,
right,
and the issue with the fevers is that it's people get very nervous because they think, oh my God, my fever's going up to 103 or 102 or whatever. What if I get, what if whatever, seizures and all these types of things?
yeah,
It's actually very rare for that to happen. It's not really that common. People think it is, but it's not.
mm,
But a virus is an actual good thing. So to let it run as much as possible is actually not a bad thing. I we've done that in my house.
A fever, you mean,
A
right?
fever, to let the fever run as much as
Right,
possible. You know,
right.
again, obviously you monitor and you make sure and that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's really what's happening. So you've got the cold that makes the viruses survive. Okay, you've got low vitamin D, which make immune systems more susceptible, and then just in general, we're we're inside, so we're not outside. We're in close quarters, so we're giving things back and forth to each other. Remember, cold is also stressful on the body, so it
Right.
also lowers immunity as well because stress in and of itself lowers immunity, so that makes you more susceptible. So that's in general; those are kind of basic points in the wintertime. What happens and what makes things circulate much easier in the winter.
Got it. Got it. Cool. So, just we want to just state that we are not doctors. Um, these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This program is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please seek the advice of your doctor.
I have been known as Doctor Love, though.
That's true. I remember a guy telling me that about you. So one of the one, so one of the questions that I always ask during the winter, the winter time is obviously people start getting there's closer quarters. Everybody's
Hmm.
also but you're bundled up also, and
Correct.
you're wearing all this stuff, and um, but energy wise, it also feels like it during like energy, and I guess you answered it a little bit by saying that you use more vitamin D because the body has to use more of it up in order to keep the immune
Hmm.
system
Hmm.
strengthened.
Right.
So I would say if you take more vitamin D during that time, you'll not only feel not get less likely to get ill, but you also have more energy as well because your body is not drawing from other places, right?
Correct. So vitamin D, because it does so many things, if you're taking it, and again, I always suggest, and I talk about it on my show for those who watch my show or listen to my show. I always suggest if you're in the winter climate, start taking your vitamin D early. I start taking it late August, early September. Why? Because it takes a while for the vitamin D to start accumulating in your body because it's a fat soluble vitamin, so your body keeps it stored in the fat. So, but yeah, you vitamin what one of the, many things that it does, but it also works on your energy. So it starts to kind of give your body more of the energy to make what's called ATP, which is where your energy comes from in your mitochondria. So your vitamin D is intimately involved in that. So that's why a lot of people have asked me, why am I feeling tired? An artist may ask me, why am I feeling tired?
Right.
Okay, obviously you're going to go through all the points. Okay, well, do you do this, 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 this? But one of the things I'm going to ask them is, especially do you feel it in the winter? Like seasonal affective disorder. People get these types of things in the season. The winter, they tend to get depressed. Tend to get tired. I'm going to ask them, what's your vitamin D status? Do you know your vitamin D status?
Right.
Have you had that checked by your doctor? You want to see where that level is because if it's low, that could contribute to being tired, depressed, all those types of things. So my
Right.
suggestion would be to start on a vitamin D supplement in the winter to get that back up to where it's supposed to be.
Okay. It's amazing that a payroll system like ATP can actually help you with your vitamin intake. I never thought of it. And I've used ATP many times. um, so yeah, so vitamin D is really important. So if you have
Extremely.
somebody like that the rapper Kumo D, so you know it's like it's cool to take Mo D, right? That's probably where his name came from. I'm thinking in my mind because I think that. But anyway, these are really really bad jokes, everyone. So I apologize if you have to listen to these. But I wanted to go on these 7 points that you
Yeah.
brought to us, and then I'll just
Yeah,
just
we can chat on each one. We
if anybody
can.
has any questions out there, you want to shoot some questions to George on anything having to do with going into the winter,
Yep.
just let us know. Especially if you're an artist, let us know your art. Let us know how much how often are you out there doing your stuff, and all that, and then yeah, put it in the chats there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and these are general recommendations. There's nothing crazy or in this. This is general stuff that you want to keep in the back of your mind. So point number one, again, we're talking about going into the winter time, and again, if you're an artist and you're, maybe you're going to go on a tour for the winter, or you're going to, do auditions in the winter, or whatever it is. Okay, the first thing you want to do, or point number one, is to lessen your sugar intake.
Okay.
And I
Oh,
know that it's not the fun one, but I'm not saying to you have to completely avoid it, but lessen it as much as possible. Why? Because sugar or excessive sugar weakens your white blood cells, and it actually causes them to act like they literally can't see a virus or can't see a bacteria or that type. It literally blinds them for a certain number of hours when you have a big intake of sugar.
I
So,
tell you, man, I gotta say something about sugar, man, because I stopped. I never really. I went through a long period of time where I didn't have any sugar, like for some reason. Like, so I
mhm,
think it was when you and I were younger.
right.
We would have stuff, but not a lot of stuff. And I just got into it. Um, Later on, I started having more sugar, and then I had a little situation with pre-diabetes and stuff, and I cut that. I stopped it, and then it went away. I literally just was cured somehow by not taking any more sugar, right? But recently, I would not consider myself that I would eat a lot of sugar, but I would have like a couple of cookies after dinner. Not every day, but just
Hmm.
maybe every other day or something. But I was kind of consistently buying my oatmeal cookies that I love, right?
Right.
And sometimes I'd buy a pie, and I would have a piece of pie, ice cream, and a cookie. So that'd
Yeah.
be like my after dinner. I started feeling weird. I started feeling like my jaw was get tight. Like I used to have like a tightness in my jaw for some reason. Like even when I was sleeping, I would wake up with my jaw kind
Hmm.
of hurting me, like it was just compressing or something. I would have these weird. I think I spoke to you a little bit about it. That
About
I
that.
have this
Yeah.
weird breathing thing and stuff. I stopped sugar. Like I literally just stopped. And all of it went away. Like I right now I don't have I'll still, if I go to a party, I'll have like a cookie, and I'll cut a cookie in half, and people
Hmm.
like make fun of me because the other day
Hmm.
I said in company, I said, yeah, I'm not gonna have any because I had a cookie yesterday,
Right.
and they're like, oh jeez. you know, you know and but I feel so much better. My body has leaned out, just giving up sugar,
Yeah.
just giving up sugar. So yeah, sugar intake. And then when you said that it actually blinds these things from, it is just the most, and doesn't, like, cancer, I mean, and you can, this is scientific also, this is not us saying that, anybody can research all this, but cancer, like, loves sugar, right? I mean,
Cancer
it
feeds on sugar. Yes.
feeds on it. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah. It's
crazy.
a. You're right. Again, the white blood cells are the ones that are your defenders. They're the ones that go after all the bacteria and viruses and stuff like that. And sugar will blind them. And
So crazy.
so and the thing is that it's not a quick thing. Literally like hours.
Wow.
So so that's one of the things. Now again, you have to be you, when you're looking at diet, right? Because people say, okay, quit sugar, and then we get into the carbohydrate thing, and again, that type of thing. And again, I'm not saying cut carbs,
Right.
okay? Because your body does need carbs. Your body needs all three of the macronutrients, okay? Protein, carbohydrates, and fats.
Right.
Okay, but you don't need this. You don't need the simple sugars. Okay, you want the more complex sugars. And you want
Right.
the more complex carbs. Like the fruits are good. You even get the carbs from the vegetables.
Right.
There's a lot of carbs in there. Brown rice, all that type of stuff. So eating those things is good. But when you're looking at the cakes and the cookies and the donuts, that's what's going to do the job. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you don't want you know you don't necessarily want the Cardi B sugar, you want the Mozart sugar.
exactly, yeah. Well,
Sorry,
well
sorry,
put,
Cardi.
John. You have such a great way of putting things,
I
John.
try to do things like that. So, okay, yeah. So
So
that's definitely a big one. Cool.
yes, that's number one. Number two, and this is very very basic, but you want to eat a diet rich in antioxidants daily, if at all possible. And I know that if you're on the road and you're depending on who you're going with or whatever you're doing, they may not be the best food around. but you want to try to do your best. And we talked about it a couple of shows ago. Like if you have no, if you're not sure what to eat and you're stopping at a place, what can you get? So you definitely, if you can,
Is
you
it
want to try.
antioxidant? Is that what it is?
Yeah, get eat a diet in antioxidants every day. So, obviously antioxidants, your vegetables, your fruits, your broccoli, spinach, mushrooms, garlic, all that type of stuff. All that stuff that's going to contain vitamin C, A, and zinc, and all those things. Okay,
Yeah.
so the colors, you want the colors on your plate as much as possible, because again, that's going to keep your immune system going. It's going to keep you feeling good. That's number one. Keep your immune system feeling good. It's going to help you with the energy, right? And then if you're out there playing, I guarantee you, if you're eating that every single day, you're going to notice it in your stamina when you're playing, whether it's drums or whatever, you're running around a stage or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's very important. Antioxidants.
And it's important also on a film set because people don't realize, you usually arrive on set at 5 a.m. You can
Mm,
go till 10 p.m. And sometimes you're shooting one scene,
right.
because the scene's complex or whatever. It has a lot of
Yep.
things, but you definitely need to have your brain has to be functioning, and is it true, because it's like people will do something for like a week, and so they eat really healthy for like a week, and then they eat really badly for like another week, and they eat really, it's you know you have to kind of let your body kind of accumulate these nutrients, right, long enough so then they can actually function properly. It's not really a one. I mean, that's what I understood.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, yes. Now, you can start to I mean, if you start eating good even in a couple of days, you can start to notice a difference pretty
Right. Sure.
quickly as far as your energy goes and that type of
Right.
thing, because again, the reason why we eat is to get energy, ATP, mitochondria, energy. So but the long term effects is where you're really going to start to see it, because then you're talking about, like, when you have stress or when you have inflammation, that's what's called oxidation, right? Leaving the apple cut in half turns
Right.
brown, that's oxidation. Well, that's what happens in your body when you're dealing with stress and all these types of stuff. Well, when you have the antioxidants, it's going to stop that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the long term effect. So now when you're on the road and you're doing crazy things or you're staying up too late or whatever the case may be, that starts the stress response. Well, the antioxidants are going to help keep that in check.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important. And again, that's more of a long term view.
Yeah. I remember growing up when antioxidant used to come for Christmas, and she was so great. Anyway, okay, cool. What's the next
So
one?
that was number two. Number three, and again, this is probably the most basic, but yet it's probably the one that people have the hardest time with. Get enough sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep deprivation is not only de-energizing to the immune system, but did you know that one night of sleep deprivation can literally affect your brain in a negative way?
Just one night of
Just
bad sleep.
one night. I did a show on this, on sleep, and that was one of the studies in there. One night, actually, literally, you saw changes in the brain of people that had just had one night of sleep deprivation. Now, the changes eventually corrected themselves later, but I mean, if they're seeing it, not, in one night,
Well,
imagine people doing this
I was
over,
gonna say that people that
you know.
don't get enough sleep. I mean, you know, there's that funny meme that you see where it says, he goes, "Oh God, I'll give anything to get 8 hours of sleep," and then somebody gives him the advice, is, "Why don't you go to sleep 8 hours before you have to get up?" And the guy's like, "I'm not doing that." And so people just do not respect their bodies.
No,
They do
it's
not respect their bodies. I'm like, yo, get some sleep.
it's one of the things, in working with people, it's one of the things that I've seen that is the biggest thing. People, I'm like, I'll ask them, what time do you normally go to bed? What's your bedtime? Oh, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. What time do you get up? 5. It's like, I'm like, what are you doing? But this is not just, this is every night. And I'm like, well, I'm watching TV and, the whole thing. And I'm like, so, again, you have to
Or I
understand.
love I love it when they're like, I cannot sleep if I don't have the TV on. I
Right.
have to have something
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the, you know, and I'm like, no, you just are using that for some reason to destroy yourself. And we talk about this in the, in more in depth as we in other episodes where that sometimes there's part of our mind, right? We talk about the analytical and reactive mind. We talk about this is all in Dianetics, where there's parts of your mind that really think that you should not get sleep and just destroy yourself,
Right.
because that seems to be the right thing to do. But think about it rationally for a second. Just as a rational person, if 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours is recommended, right? I think 8 hours is the recommended, right? If 8 hours is recommended for you to actually have optimal performance in your life, right? Why why would we not take that so seriously? If we want to be able to have optimal lives and be able to function properly and be able to help our friends and help our family and be there for our jobs and build businesses, if we're building businesses, this is why sleep is talked about so heavily by very successful businessmen.
Yes.
You can hear Gary V, Grant
Mm.
Cardone, Tony Robbins, you can
Yep.
go on and the list goes on and on, that one of the most important things that they do is they get their asses to sleep at a good time. Then they wake up and they crush the day because they've just gave their body the respect that it needs. If you don't respect your body ain't going to respect you. And then you're going to use every excuse in the book,
Correct.
you
Correct.
know.
And just a couple of tips on that. Number one, get rid of the blue lights before you go to sleep. Most people are guilty of this. You're on your phone before you go to sleep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm
And
guilty.
right, we have this thing called melatonin,
Hmm.
right? Melatonin gets secreted in the brain when it starts to get dark, right? Well, that melatonin, as soon as you put a blue light to it, it stops. It
Yeah.
stops the production. Okay. So, and then if you stop, then it's got to start to ramp up again. So, again, this is something that just normally happens as a circadian rhythm in your body. So, number one, get rid of the blue lights. I put at night, my phone goes away and goes in the living room. I go to the bedroom. It's nowhere near my head, nowhere near me at all. And I don't have it in front of me before I go to bed because I want the melatonin to kick in so I
Correct.
can go to sleep. All right. Another thing is, um, you have to remember that sleep is your ultimate repair. That's when you repair from
Right.
all the stresses. So if you're sleeping on a bus on tour, or you're an actor, or you're sleeping wherever it is in a hotel or whatever it is, and you've had a long, stressful day, you need to repair. The body has to repair. And so you can start the process over in the morning. And when you repaired well, when you get up and you feel, I feel good. You have
Yeah.
that good morning energy.
Yeah.
Your body cleaned out. Okay, but you need to do that because if you don't, it all gets stuck in the lymphatics, right? And now you have to contend with that the next night. And if you're not doing it on a regular basis, it's like not taking out the trash. It's the
Yeah.
trash is just building up.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be, try it as best as you can. It doesn't have to be 8 hours, but at least a good, anywhere from 6 to 8 is good. Even 7 is perfect, but it has to be good quality hours.
Yeah. I mean, I was into Glenfiddich once, deep in there, and remember they just kept knocking, trying to get in. I remember saying, I don't care. I'm not gonna let melatonin in. I'm not gonna melatonin. God, these are horrible.
How does your brain work,
It's not. It
man?
doesn't. These are not funny. These are not funny, but I want to say them, and I don't.
Okay, well, hey,
So anyway, so melatonin came over. I'm just kidding, but it. I'm guilty of the phone part of it,
right,
because I'm very. It's what I do, and I interact with people a lot, But one of the things that I have noticed is that I go to bed with enough time to let that. I don't
right,
sit there laying.
right.
I put
That's
it
key.
down and then I go to bed with
Mhm.
enough time to let that that kick in, because I think that we're putting something ahead of it, right? Like we're putting an importance ahead of our sleep, ahead of our bodies, ahead of the responsibilities that we have for the next day, and it's usually something frivolous, like scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, or sending a post or whatever, and I think that, if we were to really just shift that viewpoint slightly and be like, and respect ourselves. And I talk about that a lot, respect yourself, because it's something that I didn't do for a long time. And as I've been got older now, and I have, I'm not a young man and I have young kids, you know what I
Right.
mean? So I
Yep.
want to be around for them, for a while. And I also don't want to be an old man where then they have to kind of basically take full care of me.
Right.
I want to be able to be mobile and active for a long period of time, so I can, so I can be there for them,
Yes.
and not have them, and have them build their lives and have them worry about their responsibilities, and not so much about, you know, dad can't get up the steps or whatever the situation is, but that's what happens, and
Yes.
it's sad, so increasing responsibility, and people talk about the self-care and stuff. Well, it falls into that, it's like,
Exactly.
take care of yourself, what I mean. We need you so you can help others, so we all have to
Absolutely.
take responsibility for that.
Agreed. Agreed. So number four, again, another one that obviously we all need to work on, and something that just in life, and when you look, just watch the news, and you'll see it, is just do whatever you can to lower your stress level.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to do, of course, with everything going on in the world, everything going on in life. You have kids, you've got whatever, or if you're on the road, or there's going to be a stress to that. Okay, and it could be a physical stress, chemical stress, or emotional stress, but we're all under some kind of stress. So whatever we can do. So my suggestions would be to try to have a counter to the stress. So if you're dealing with a stressful day, maybe in the evening do something to counter that. Whatever it is for you, it could be meditation, could be yoga, could be just deep breathing. It could be watching. This is what I used many times, is watching Bob Ross.
Yes. Yes. Bob
That's
Ross.
that's a great way to de-stress.
Yeah, I used to. For me, it's, Bob Ross, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
Remember Jeff Smith, the Frugal
Jeff. Yeah,
Gourmet.
Frugal Gourmet. Yeah,
Yeah, just things like that. You know. With that one, I'm kind of I don't watch the news. I
right,
don't watch the news. I don't we don't have a television in our house. We don't, we stream movies and
right.
TV shows that way, but we don't have an actual, people have a television. It reminds me of the old All in the Family episode where they told Archie Bunker, he's like, yeah, we don't. Somebody told him, we don't have a television. He's like, well, what do you point the furniture to? It's like,
I love them.
yeah. So we don't have any television. Um, so I don't watch any of the news. The entertainment that I enjoy is music. I watch films. I was just telling George that I do go on YouTube and I watch some series that shows. I have a little bit of a problem with that, but it shows the interrogation live foot not live footage, but it's recorded footage of interrogations from past. And I'm always curious, and I'm fascinated by how the detectives weave their questions through and get confessions from these guys. So I do watch that, but that's not stressful. I don't watch that thinking like, what I mean. I watch that like going, "Whoa, that was pretty cool what he said."
It's not like you come home and you put on the greatest plane wrecks.
Yeah, I tell you, there are some people that enjoy watching morbid things. I mean,
True.
that's another problem.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is that we become so desensitized to the media news
Correct.
that it's just on, and it's like, oh my god, look at this, look what happened here. Oh boy, and you're just taking it in. You're taking it in, and you might not even feel like you're stressed about it. But
Correct.
trust me, it's creating something. Yeah,
Yes, you're
it's
right.
creating something. Another thing is jobs. Like so
Hmm.
many of us take jobs we don't like.
Yep.
And I've been always one to. I quit as soon as I have any kind of stress where I don't feel like I want to be here anymore. I leave, and even if I don't have something aligned, I leave because every single time I've done that in my life, something has come through because I was able to be me.
Right.
And
Right.
George, that I've
Yep.
always lived by my means, by
Hmm.
my decision.
Yep.
and I've always been able to just find the thing and find my way because the stress level, I had enough stress growing up. I had enough stress through my whole teen years and through all my early 20s, and it didn't start getting easier until my 30s, I would say. You know what I mean? So it's not like I didn't have my share of stress. I think most of my life, early life, was stressful,
Right.
but I think it's important to be able to recognize that, be able to
Exactly.
recognize the moments, because sometimes you're so in it. You know what I mean? You're so involved in the actual stress and you're so part of it that you just think it's just life. And
Yes.
it's not necessarily that. It's stress, and you don't realize it unless you step back for a second and observe.
Correct.
Just step back for a little bit and just observe. And it's also good to have people in your environment that are strong enough that can actually also point out, hey, you know what? You seem stressed because of your relationship with this person, or maybe your job, or whatever.
Right.
And it's good to have that as well.
Yeah, one of the things I've talked about in my life was I had a very stressful childhood, because a lot of stuff went on in my house as a kid and it affected me as I went older. And I held down to a lot of stress, especially as a teenager. And some of the advice I got was to get it out. You need an outlet to get it out because I used to hold
Right.
everything in. And that's where working out and fitness and,
Your
and
your uh, your years at Chippendales
my exactly
dancing. Yeah,
my
that was
dance, my pole dancing and all that and all the but and doing all those things and sports and all that martial arts was it helped me get out of that. And not to say that it's interesting because I've talked about it recently. Not to say that I still don't get triggered, because I
sure,
still do get triggered every now and then, and I still feel the anxiety in certain
sure,
situations, but I'm aware of it, and
right.
I'm saying, okay, let's take a step back. How
That's
do we
not
handle it?
me. That's just the
Exactly.
past kind of coming in on me a little bit. And
Exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, so the stress piece is very very important. So again, for you guys out there, just do your best. And just a couple of tips on that one. If you're looking for any kind of nutrition help that helps with stress, your body uses B vitamins and magnesium the most when you are under stress. So my suggestion, if you are looking for something to take to kind of replenish and to help you deal, if as far as the nutrient part of it, B vitamins like a B complex is very good, and a magnesium supplement, very very good to deal with that.
now let me ask you about a B complex, because B complex by itself is good enough. Like, does it have enough? Because I know sometimes the absorption of certain things needs another thing.
Well, I mean, I would recommend. I mean, it really depends on which way you want to go. If you have a multi that has enough, usually the multis have all the B's in it. If it
Right.
has enough of the B's in that multi, I would just take the multi because it has everything else.
Okay, and
But
it
right,
helps you with the
exactly.
absorption of
But
it.
a B complex can, again, depending on where you get it, a B complex will normally have, as long as you get all the B's, because when you take in the B's, they all work together.
Correct.
So as long as they're all together, being taken in, plus the food that you're eating,
Right.
it all mixes together. Then you're fine.
Yeah. Okay. And since we're talking about that now, why don't we do our sponsor? Since that's a good time to do our.
Absolutely. So, by the way, the Counterpart Show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality, clinically formulated supplements since 1985. Find out why they are some of the best supplements I've ever had in my life. Make sure you check them out at myvitaminresource.com. If you enter the promo code Counterparts because you listen and or watch this show, you will get free shipping on your order. And added to that, you have to check out their monthly specials. And this month, you will get, and this is the perfect segue because you will get 25% off their daily supplement programs. And some of their daily supplements, like the Daily Energy Multivitamin, is a great. Is that? Yeah,
No,
no, it's the daily one.
that one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so the daily ones like the Daily Energy Multivitamin or the Daily Protector, those are great if you're dealing with stress. You want to boost your immune system, or that type of thing. Because again, Wellness Resources, their forms of supplements are some of the highest I've ever seen in my life, and they're so absorbable. I mean, ridiculously absorbable. So you don't need a lot of it, but when you take them, you feel the difference. So again, check them out at myvitaminresource.com.
Cool. See, that was actually the old one. Let me delete that. Cool.
All right. So yeah, so that
Yeah.
was number 4.
Okay.
So number 5, this is for all the rock stars in the house. Limit or avoid alcohol.
Oh boy.
Excessive alcohol consumption disrupts immune pathways and depresses immune function.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Okay. Again, I know, people have, will have a drink here and there after a gig or whatever the case may be, but you don't want to overdo that, especially if you're trying to, you're trying to make a living on the road, because it's not good.
Dangerous. Now I know that also alcohol depletes
Specifically,
all the
B
stuff,
vitamins.
B vitamins, right? Yeah, the stuff that we were talking about,
Yep.
which is kind of ironic because you're stressed, so you have a drink,
Right. Exactly.
and so you have another drink, and you have another drink, and then of course your B's are going down, so stress level is it's even more unmanageable. And so what do? You take more alcohol, so
Yeah.
it's such a trap, it's like it really is just a sad trap.
A lot of people, unfortunately, use the alcohol to perform.
Right.
Right? I mean, it could be musicians or actors.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
need that drink to help them, whatever,
yeah.
perform and stuff. I mean, I don't know
It's
how these
something in
guys in
life.
the '70s did it.
I know. I don't have no idea. I mean, it is, a lot of it, something that they're unable to confront,
Yeah.
that they want to kind of like just, numb. And that's what alcohol does, right? It just numbs the brain, and numbs your, all your abilities basically. And the fact that they can play, people say, well, yeah, but Jimi Hendrix played. Well, Jimi Hendrix is dead. So if that's your argument,
I know. He died at what,
it's a
27, right?
really bad argument, And then people talk about, Keith Richards. I'm like, well, Keith Richards is Keith Richards. I don't know anyone else on earth that has
Have
ever
you
lived a
seen
life.
Mick Jagger, man?
Yeah,
They say he's like almost as old as Biden, I think, right?
yeah, he's
Or
80. Yeah, he's 80. He just turned 80.
unbelievable.
Keith also. They're like 80s. They're still. They just put out a new record, a new song, which is actually great.
Unbelievable.
Which I had it playing in my car the other day. It was a great song. But yeah, so it's definitely one of those things that, numbing the pain with alcohol, it's really a but I also think that part of what's happening today, a movement, and maybe it's not as big a movement as I see it, because I'm more on the side of the movement, but I do see a lot of people moving away from that and really moving towards, a more holistic
Yep.
approach to life and approach to their art, which is part of what we do here at the JHS. Little promo, little plug. JHS Talent Management, where we take a holistic approach to the artist, and we, navigate through the muck that they're dealing with, but we do it through holistic methods and through, all the stuff that George is talking about right now. So there is a lot of work to do, obviously, but I think
Hmm.
it's a movement that we're doing. It's not necessarily just oh, it's a business. We have a business. No, it's a movement. Everything I work on is a movement to make the world a better place, and to make future generations be able to have happy lives, and for our kids and their kids and their kids and their kids to be able to go on and to build a great world.
Absolutely. Well said. All right. So we're on to number 6. And again, just for those of you who are maybe just joining us, we have the top 7 tips to get through the winter. If you're an artist or just anyone, just want some tips to get through the winter and keep your immune system and your health intact. So number 6, we want to manage weight and blood sugar. This
Oh,
is where, again, diet is going. It's going to be, may be tricky, and you have to understand that being at a healthy weight and balancing blood sugar helps immune strength. Okay, it's a big deal. Okay, so
yeah.
my suggestion. Okay, and again, this is the way I eat, and I. By the way, I have a whole course on this for anyone who wants to get it, the leptin diet course. But the way I eat and the way I recommend people eat, very simple things. Make sure you're eating Good amounts of protein, specifically if you can eat protein for breakfast, that's a great thing. Eat 3 meals per day. Do not snack between those meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, where we all grew up on. Okay, 3 meals, no snacking, and no eating before bed. And when I say before bed, I mean like literally right before bed. Try to leave at least, if you can, at 3 hours. At least 2 hours, but 3 hours to before you go to bed. This way, your not only it'll help you sleep, but it'll help you make sure that everything is digested already, and then it gives enough time for your body to detox everything it needs to detox, and doesn't have to worry about digestion. But doing that also is going to help your blood sugar. Is going to keep your blood sugar low, and just eating that way in general, you're going to leave 4 to 5 hours between each meal. Allow your blood sugar to go back down to baseline, where you're not spiking it constantly with 6 or 7 meals a day. And that's also going to keep you not only healthy as far as your immunity, but it's also going to help keep your weight down. Obviously, you want to do a little exercise on that, on top of that as well. But yeah, if you can do those things, you're more inclined to balance blood sugar in general and keep the weight in check.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I don't do 3 meals a day. I do 2 meals a day.
Could do that. Yep.
So yeah, I do the intermittent fasting. So I do give my body enough time to really repair itself, and I've noticed a tremendous amount of difference. And again, we've talked about this, George. There's so many different approaches that people can handle their bodies, right? It's like there's not one fix.
Right.
There's one overall good, like everything that you just said right now is one overall thing that would work.
Yep.
But there's other individuals that maybe some people need a little bit more protein, or they
Correct.
need maybe they need that extra meal, but it's a smaller meal.
Right.
And but still within the confines of the idea that you stop eating at a certain time and give your body a chance to go to bed and to digest what you ate. I'll see people. I mean, part of the reason I think is because we live in a great country that says that we have plenty of so much stuff. So we have a refrigerator full of food. 100 years ago that wasn't the case. 100 years ago, you had to eat. Actually, let's just say me growing up, I didn't have. My grandma made food, right? She made food, and I'll have, like, maybe in the morning I'll have a little piece, I drink some coffee if I was old enough at that point, and maybe some eggs or something. And then she have a big pot of rice with meat and beans and potatoes and whatever else we're eating. That was it.
Yep.
That was it. And then at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., you're not eating. There's no, what are you going to eat? There's nothing there. Maybe you get a slice of bread. Maybe you have a Ritz cracker, or a galleta de soda. Those big
Yeah.
the green cans that
Yeah. I remember those. Yeah.
usually are all filled with rice at the end of a.
Yeah. That's
But
true.
that's what you would get. You know what I mean? So, but today we have so much. We're such a wealthy country, and there's food everywhere that it's very tempting to be 8:30 at night, and you're at home and you got to go to bed around 10:30, and those damn peanut butter cookies are over there in the fridge. That is really going to show who you are and where you're going, and your discipline level is going to be tested.
Correct.
And I always tell people, man, win.
Yep.
Just win.
Yep.
Win one day. Don't do it for one day. Just win. The next day
Exactly.
you're going to feel better, and then you're going to want to win again.
Yep.
And that's what happened to me. It was really difficult for me at the beginning. It's like I was just used to having my meal. It's like when people say, after their food, they have their cigarettes or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it was like after my meal, I have my little oatmeal cookies,
Hmm. Hmm.
and maybe I'll have a cup of coffee late in the day or something. But no, you have to be able to really just say, no, I'm going to win today. I'm
Absolutely.
going to win.
And part of the issue as well is, and John, you and I have talked about this before, is when you're eating and you're establishing a pattern. Okay, just like you're talking about, if your body will adapt to whatever pattern you establish.
Whatever it is. Right.
So if you're eating that cookie, or you're eating that sugar, or you're eating at those exact times and those exact things, your body eventually starts to adapt to it. Well, if adaptation means gaining weight, that's what it will do. If it means raising blood sugar, that's what it will do. Okay, it's adapting to everything you do. So conversely, if you are maintaining those good habits and you're not eating before bed and you're leaving space between the meals, you're doing those things, your body will eventually start to adapt to that. And eventually you'll start to not feel hungry those times.
Right.
Eventually you'll stop craving the sugar. Eventually your weight will come down. You'll be able to sleep better. All those things will happen, but you've got to stay that course and give your body a chance to kind of catch up and
Right.
adapt to what you're doing to it. And
Right.
that's the key because remember, when you look at evolution, for when you look at it in a non-religious way, if you're looking at the hunter gatherer, right? How much food did they have? They had to go hunt their food. If they got one meal a day, it was a lot, right?
Right.
So the human body had to adapt to that, and
Right.
the human body had to make sure that it stored sugar because your brain runs on glucose.
Right.
Okay, it had to store sugar to keep your head awake in order for you to hunt and get your food.
Mm.
That's an evolutionary process, and that kind of stayed with us. But then now, all of a sudden, we have all this food, like you talked about. Now, all of a sudden, the human body's screwed up because now you're constantly feeding it, and it's out of whack.
Right.
So you have to think in terms of how we kind of evolved, and really, the space is what is the key to that.
Yeah. Can you imagine millennials hunting?
The spear.
Or just like, well, your iPhone is much bigger. Hit it with your iPhone. No, mine is the new one. You got the old one. Yeah.
Yes. So that's so that's number six. And again, there's also, you can add supplements to that if that'll help you. There's plenty of supplements that can help with cravings as well. And then number seven, and this is where we can kind of go if you want some extra help and you want to take some supplements that will help you as far as just getting through the winter. We already talked about one vitamin D. That's the one I would really recommend because again, if taking it through from the beginning to end, you're building that wall so things won't get into your immune system. Okay, but other things you can take that I suggest and things that I do is I have a bottle of vitamin C. Okay, because there may be times where you'll get a cold. You're on the road. You're doing whatever. You're traveling. You're susceptible, right? You've got all this stuff going on, all this stress. You may start to feel a cold coming on. Vitamin C is perfect for when you start feeling symptoms of a cold. Now, when I talk about vitamin C, I'm not, there's different forms of vitamin C. You have the whole food vitamin C. There's merit to that, and people use that. But the vitamin C I'm talking about is not the whole food form. I'm talking about straight up 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid or
Right.
sodium ascorbate, depending on which one you get. Taking those
So
and
number seven is supplements.
supplements, yeah, just like immune supplements.
Okay.
So vitamin C is great for helping you get past the cold. As soon as you start to feel symptoms, start taking it. And I don't mean take one; I mean take a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
because you just remember with vitamin C, when you're sick or when you're dealing with inflammation, the first cells that go to deal with that inflammation contain 80% of the vitamin C that's in your blood.
Wow.
Okay. So
Really?
they're literally taking all the vitamin C and they're using it to deal with the inflammation. You have to replenish if you want to keep using it because it'll
Right.
deplete it right away. So my suggestion is keep bringing it in because then it'll take until eventually it starts to get the inflammation down. So if you don't have enough vitamin C, your body's going to use whatever antioxidants you have on board. But if you don't have enough, your symptoms might get worse.
Right. Wow.
So
So
so yeah,
supplements are, yeah.
supplements. So yeah, vitamin C, vitamin D are very good, and one more just for immune system, and also if you're dealing with allergies in the fall. We're in the fall now. A
Right.
lot of people dealing with allergies. This is one of the things that literally has helped me because I took it for years, and I am allergy free.
That's
And
amazing.
and one of the
How
big
can people understand?
yeah, people don't know.
They don't understand what you dealt with and what I had to witness
Yes. So
growing up.
So the two things, again, we already talked about one, vitamin C, but one you can use as a buddy to vitamin C is called quercetin. Quercetin is it's a compound that you will get in apples, you'll get it in oranges, you'll get it in certain fruits and stuff like that. But what quercetin is, it does a lot of things. It's an immune modulator. It helps your immune system, but it also stabilizes your histamine levels. It's like an anti. It's almost like a over-the-counter antihistamine. It works the same way. Okay, but it stabilizes what's the mast cells that cause the inflammation, that cause the allergies, stabilizes your immunity, and stabilizes histamine. If you use it long enough, not only will it help to fortify your immune system, but it will help to actually eventually over time decrease the severity of allergies, and it works together with vitamin C. So that's a powerful combination, those two. So quercetin, vitamin C, and vitamin D, excellent top for the winter.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a really good doctor, but I had to get rid of him because he's too mean. He's I like friendly doctors, and
Wow.
he's too mean.
Wow.
And it
I
gets
don't
worse and
I
worse.
don't
I
know
don't
what
even
to
know what I'm
say.
doing. I don't know why my brain thinks that way. It's retarded, but anyway,
Uh,
can't say that word anymore, right? It's not politically
so
correct.
yes, so those are my 7 tips for the artist and for just people in general who are out there doing their
That's
thing.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you, George. Appreciate that very much. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can, it's so important that artists and just people in general, especially when we're approaching this time, there's a lot of stuff in the media, there's a lot of stuff in the news about health and what they believe is health and things coming down the pipeline. But if you take the responsibility on yourself, and you say, and you also get the education. George went and got, just some of George's background, but he had a tremendous amount of allergies. All I ever knew with George was George and tissues. It was like, you know, I mean, he could have been sponsored by Kleenex, and they would have been made a fortune
True.
off of just him.
Very
But
true.
it was one of those things that he himself researched. He did the studies, he became a certified, and now he helps other people, because he's, I mean, even just saying it is amazing that he is allergy free. A guy who I only knew as allergy guy.
I
You know,
wonder, imagine how many tissues I used in my life.
dude. I mean, it was just you always had tissue around, and it was just I didn't it got to a point where it wasn't even a bother. It didn't even bother me anymore.
No, it
It
just
wasn't. It never bothered me. It was just that's what it was.
yeah.
But you were able to do that, and so that's very very awesome of you. And now that you're helping other people, and it's really cool. So yes, so there you have it. By the way, if anyone wants to reach out to George, how should they contact you?
They can go to my website, georgebatista.com. They can fill out the little contact form. Or they can, and also if they want to email me, they can go to wellnesstalk@protonmail.com. That's another way to get me as well. Either way is fine. It'll go to the same place. But if you want to go to the website, by the way, there's hundreds of articles of what I'm talking about on that site. What I just talked about, by the way, was from Wellness Resources. They have great articles, and I put them all on there. There's hundreds. So literally, you can go in, you can type in, what it is you're looking for, whatever subject. The show and the article of whatever it is I talked about will come up. So if you guys are interested, do some research on your
That's
own. It's all
awesome,
there.
man. Yeah, we have to actually start talking more about that because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, on our site we could do that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yep.
definitely. Talk about it here. I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, talk
Mm-hmm.
about it here because yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so definitely do that. Um, and you can find me at toysrus.com. I, nah,
Toys R
if
Us
you do
dot
need
com.
to reach out to me, you could always, go to my site, my new site,
Yes.
JHS Talent Management. So
Check us out.
yeah, just a quick thing on that before we head out. That's I've been having tremendous conversations with some amazing artists from all across the country in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We are really putting this together to help the artists. We're have the 4 phases that I talk about. You can reach out to me and I will explain them to you. If you go to this site, you can actually schedule a time, a 30-minute block to chat with me. We could do it either like this via conference call, video conference, or we can just have a phone conversation. I'll go over the four phases. If you're an artist, musician, any kind of art that you're interested in doing, um, visit the site. Let us know what you're doing. Let us know what kind of help you need. And part of this is George. George is part of this movement because what we talk about it, we're serious about. The artist has to be protected and defended, right? There's so much stuff that's just attacking us, right? You got to have a 9 to 5 job. You have to have this. You got to do your own marketing, social media. The world is ending. All the stuff that's going on, and yet we're just trying to create art and make the world a better place. Well, this is the movement that we've created here to really help the artist navigate through that. And this site right here will give you a lot of information. It will show you our mission statement. You can reach out to me and we'll do, we'll meet and we'll see where you are and see what we can do. And I'll explain to you the four phases which I developed. And I'm very excited about. The more I talk about it, the more I even am liking how it's actually sounding. And I can see it really being a very powerful tool in the world. And I'm going to really be pushing that for the next whatever years of my life left. So I'm very excited about that. So, alrighty, we're at the top of the hour. I want to thank you all for tuning in. We can go on for another hour. George and I talk about that sometimes and stuff, but we want to end here and thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you tremendously, and we hope that you come back again week after week and tell your friends about it. Come in. I apologize for my jokes. They're not funny. I don't mean them to be funny. They just come into my head, and I want to. Words sometimes sound like other words to me. So histamine just sounds like he's so mean. He's so mean. I don't know. Does that make any sense? No. Did I say it? Absolutely. Did I say it on a live stream? 100% correct.
Welcome to my world, people.
Yeah, and George has heard these for the last 50 years of our lives. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll see you all next week. We love you. Thank you for spending time with us. And as always,
For those of you who are listening, I just hit the microphone. I'm trying to do the peace sign, and I hit the microphone with my hand.
there was like a gong. And as always, gong. Anyway, folks, thank you very much. And as always, peace.